I'm Shannon,
And I'm Holly.
and this is a Girls Gone Curious podcast, where we talk about things that make us curious. So grab your favorite drink, sit back and relax because your show is loading. Today's episode includes the following trigger warnings, mentioning topics of graphic description of murder, suicide, and, murder. This podcast is not suitable for children. Please listen with care. We apologize if we say any of the names or places wrong in today's case. This week's true crime category is listener's choice. So when we asked a follower what they wanted to hear, they gave us the word Western. So let's get into it.
Kansas was the 34th state to join the U.S. on January 29, 1861. At the time, the state mainly contained Native American tribes. Before 1861, around the 1840s, settlers, traders, and merchants were establishing trading posts in Kansas, trading with any local communities and Native Americans in the area. After becoming a state, French-Canadian fur trapper Pierre Labette would establish the county Labette on February 26, 1867. Between 1870 to 1878, the population would rise from 9,973 to 17,190, which is a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
The Homestead Act of 1862 would be passed on May 20th, 1862. This was passed in hopes to accelerate the settlement of Western territories like Kansas. This would grant adult heads of the families 160 acres of surveyed public land for a minimal filing fee.
Dang, can I get a deal like that?
Yeah. Also with 5 years of continuous residence on the land. Citizens who never bore arms against the U.S. government were qualified for this. The requirement for the land would be to have to live on the plot and improve the land by cultivating and things like that. After 5 years on the land and improving it, the original filer would be entitled to the property, the only cost being a small registration fee. You could also be granted the title after 6 months of residency and small improvements after paying $1.25 per acre, which in 1862 was about $40.25 in today's money. So $40.25 times 160 is only $6,440, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
For 160 acres.
That is amazing.
Yeah. A lot of people who already had homesteads would take part in this. Most wouldn't be able to afford it if they didn't already have the things you needed to begin a new homestead. Although the land didn't cost anything, you would still need to pay for livestock, seeds, tools, equipment, and not to mention product to build a house and or barn. In 1870, 5 different families would come to Labette County. They would be seen as a little weird and different. This was because they were all spiritualists, or at least they pretended to be. A spiritualist is just a person who believes that the dead can communicate with the living. One of these families would be the Benders. Not much is known about the Benders and where exactly they came from, but there are some theories. So I'm just sharing some of the information that I found. Whether it's all true or not is a completely different story. John Bender Sr. was believed to be around 60 years old. There's also a possibility that his real name was William. Either way, John Sr. would mainly go by the name Pa Bender. He was described as a big man, and also described as something along the lines of him just being a bear standing on 2 feet. So I'm imagining this guy was a big dude.
Yeah.
John Sr. had a deep voice, wasn't really friendly, and was ill-tempered. Now that could or could not be due to the fact that the townspeople would call him a repulsive, hideous brute without a redeeming trait.
Wow.
John Sr. was believed to be from Germany, Norway, or the Netherlands. He had a thick accent, and it seemed like he didn't know much English. It is also possible that he was also a man named John Flickinger. No matter what his name was, many people strongly believe that John Bender wasn't his actual name. Elvira Bender was believed to be John Sr.'s wife, and somewhere around the age of 55. Just like John, she wasn't friendly and didn't like people. Elvira didn't have a good reputation with the townspeople. They would often call her a she-devil. She was described as a large, unattractive woman that always had a scowl on her face. She also had a thick accent and went by the name Ma Bender. Later in the newspaper, it said Elvira was possibly actually Elmira Hill Mark, saying that she married a man by the name of Simon Mark and claimed to have 12 children. Then later married William Stephen Griffith. There was also a rumor that Elvira killed multiple of her husbands. This newspaper would also claim that Elvira said that Kate Bender was her 5th child out of the 12. Which we'll get to Kate Bender in a minute. John Bender Jr. was believed to be around 25 years old. It isn't confirmed, but many people thought that John Jr. was John Sr.'s son. He was described as handsome with auburn hair and a mustache. Many thought that John Jr. might have had something mentally wrong with him because he would just often begin laughing for no reason. They would call him strange or half-witted. Even if he might have not all been there, he was still fluent in English with a German accent. The last member of the Bender family would be Kate Bender. She was believed to be Elvira's daughter and around 23 years old. She was described as beautiful, outgoing, and voluptuous. Even though she was the youngest in the family, it seemed like she ran the show, meaning more or less that she was the face of the family. Kate claimed that she had psychic abilities and was also a healer, calling herself professor when she often talked about spiritualism. Now, here's some even more weird, complicated stuff. There's no documents providing that the Benders are blood related, but that also means there's no documents saying that they aren't blood related. So no one really knows where they came from or what their relationship was. Many thought they were from Germany because of their accents. Some thought that John Jr. and Kate were siblings, while others thought that they were possibly married to each other. Then there were people who believed both. Or, if they didn't believe that they were married, but instead just siblings that had sexual relationships with each other. What makes people believe that they were committing incest was what Kate said in one of her spiritualism talks. She would say, "Shall we confine ourselves to a single love and deny our natures the proper sway, even though it would be a brother's passion for his own sister? I say it should not be smothered."
I don't think so.
I think it was a whole different world back then.
Yeah, definitely.
In 1870, John Sr. and John Jr. would arrive in Lebec County to claim a 160-acre plot land near the Osage Trail. This would be about 100 yards off the trail. The Osage Trail was very well used. Many would take it to travel from Fort Scott to Independence and vice versa. It was pretty much what a major highway is now. Both of the Bender men would build a house, chicken coop, fencing for livestock, horse corrals, and a well. They first bought a slab of stone to use as the floor of the cellar. The cellar would have a tunnel leading up to the house. They would split the house with a canvas sheet to make it 2 living quarters. The front is where they would have a kitchen along with a sitting area, which they would also use as a store. In the back, they would have the sleeping area. Elvira and Kate would wait until 1871 when the house was built to move in. Once there, they would build a 2-acre garden with an apple orchard. On the outside of the house, they would hang a sign that said Inn and Grocery. They would sell things like coffee, apples, soap, tobacco, and grain. Of course, this would be all just a front to hide what they were really doing. If you were to stop in at this inn, maybe just to eat something or to rest your head after traveling for however long, it would probably be your last stop. Kate Bender would greet you at the door and guide you in. She would begin by asking you questions about where you're from, if you had any family with you, and pretty much making small talk, or what seemed like small talk. In reality, she would really be gauging whether or not you would be a good target. While she sat you at the head of the table facing away from the curtain that separated the room, another Bender would be waiting on the other side to attack. After getting all the information they needed, one of the Bender men would hit you in the back of the head with a hammer.
Damn.
And if it wasn't enough, they would slit your throat, which is believed to be by Kate or Elvira. After this, your body would be thrown into a trap door that leads to the cellar. If you weren't already dead, you would die from bleeding out. After death, the Benders would steal everything, sometimes even the clothes off the victims' bodies. The body or bodies would stay in the cellar until one of the Benders decided how they were going to get rid of them. Horses and stolen goods would often be sold. They would use the excuse of customers not being able to pay with money as the reason of why they had the goods in the first place. This would be like the horses or the wagons or any type of goods that they had with them while traveling. A lot of these victims would be men that were traveling to visit family or to establish a new homestead, which usually meant they were alone because men would travel to find new land and build the house before the rest of the family would come, just like what the Bender men did before the woman came in 1871. These accounts of what the Benders would do would come from some people who escaped the Bender Inn. One man is William Pickering. When he refused to sit in the chair Kate told him to sit in, it was the head chair facing away from the curtain. The reason for not sitting was because the curtain was covered in stains. Kate would threaten him with a knife, which caused him to run, and then he got away. A Catholic priest, Paul Ponzagolin, claimed to have seen one of the Bender men with a hammer. This scared him, and he used the excuse of needing to tend his horse as an escape route. But this account isn't confirmed because the man claimed it happened after the Benders fled. So I don't know how he would do it if the Benders were already gone.
Someone just wanting to be a part of the story?
Probably. A woman by the name of Mrs. Fitz felt uneasy when she was in the Benders Inn. She felt or saw movement behind the curtain and ran. 2 men came to see Kate for her psychic powers. Both refused to sit at the table and would sit at the bar or counter to eat. At this time, Kate would get aggressive, and once they saw the men come out from behind the curtain, they both ran. And these could be all made up. They could not be made up.
Yeah. But honestly, if you take out all the scary or odd situations throughout, like going to visit to stop at the inn, you see Pa Bender come around, and they describe him as a giant, like pretty much a giant man, like very large.
Probably with a hammer in his hand.
Yeah, I'd take off running.
Yeah. Their first victim is believed to be a man named William Jones. He was a stonemason and was on his way to Independence to buy land, so he had a large amount of cash on him. William was missing for weeks before his body was found in May of 1871. He was found in or near Drum Creek. His head was bashed in and his throat was slit from ear to ear. And the spot he was found was owned by a different person who became a person of interest. However, there was no action taken. Pretty much the case just dropped until everything happened with the Benders. In February of 1872, 2 men were found dead in the same area of Drum Creek with the same type of injuries. There has been no ID on who the 2 men were, but are believed to be both victims of the Benders. In December of 1872, 4 more unidentified male bodies were found in and around Drum Creek. All had heads bashed in and throats slit. It was possible that one of them was Jack Bogart. His horses were in the Benders' possession when they sold it to a friend of the Benders after Jack went missing in 1872. So very, suspicious. News would begin to spread in 1873 of people going missing that were taking the Osage Trail. It came to a point where people would start avoiding going on this trail, even if it was the quickest route. I mean, I'd be doing the same. I go missing.
No thanks. Who am I kidding? I'd be like, why are these people missing? I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah. George Longclaw, or possibly George Launcher, disappeared in December of 1872, along with his 8-month-old daughter. In 1870, he lived in Independence with his wife and were neighbors of Charles Engle's family, and also Dr. William Henry York. After the death of his infant son, Robert, due to pneumonia in 1871, and the death of his wife, Mary Jane, after giving birth to their daughter, Mary Ann, George decided to move. It is believed that he was headed to Lee County, Iowa, where his parents lived. After buying horses from his neighbor, William York, he would begin his journey. Unfortunately, George would never make it to his destination, going missing in the winter of 1872. Dr. William York was born in Illinois, and his parents eventually moved to Fort Scott, Kansas. Dr. William graduated from the Lind Medical School in Chicago, which is now the Northwest University Finberg School of Medicine. After school, he joined the Army and was held captive in Tyler, Texas. Along with him were about 5,000 men that were all tortured. One of the ways of torture was being hung by their thumbs with their feet off the ground by a couple inches.
Oh my God.
And he says many, many people died from this torture.
Damn.
I would imagine your thumb would come out of socket.
Yeah.
Or something.
And then eventually your arms.
Yeah, something. Dr. William was freed once the war ended. He would move to just outside of Independence, Kansas, with his wife and kids. He would run a medical practice that was very successful. And this is where I'm assuming Dr. William met George. After hearing that George went missing, he would search for him in the spring of 1873. He already had a plan to visit his parents in Fort Scott and arrived on March 9th. After this visit, he would head towards home, Independence. While on his way, he would look for George. But just like George, he would go missing and never make it home. A friend of Dr. William would show up at his home, and William's wife would answer the door. This friend was supposed to receive a letter from William when he got home, but hadn't, so he paid his house a visit. However, William still wasn't home, even though he was supposed to be home a couple days before. Dr. William's wife waited a couple days thinking that he could just be running behind schedule, but when this friend showed up, she became more worried. Especially when this friend saw him in Fort Scott on his way home to Independence, and this friend made it home before William did. After this, she would get in contact with Dr. William's brother, Colonel Alexander York. Dr. William had two brothers. One of them was Ed York, who lived in Fort Scott, and the other was Colonel Alexander M. York. Alexander was a veteran, like William, but was also a lawyer and a member of the Kansas State Senate in Independence. Worried about his brother, he would search for him, getting together with a group of about 50-ish men to help him search and question travelers and homesteads. On March 23rd, 1873, Alexander and a Mr. Johnson would arrive at the Bender Inn. I don't really know who this Mr. Johnson was, but it was mentioned in many sources, so I wanted to also mention it.
Maybe a guard of some sort, maybe?
Or maybe he's works for Alexander, because he is part of the state senate or something. I don't know. Anyways, Kate would answer the door and they would go into the inn and sit down and eat something. While eating, they would ask Kate if she saw anything or knew where William went. You know, all the type of questions you ask someone when a person goes missing. The only thing she would really say is that maybe the Indians got him. Alexander and Mr. Johnson would finish eating and leave. On April 3rd, Alexander would return to the Bender Inn with armed men. When they asked around town and visited other homesteads, he heard that Elvira at one point threatened a woman with a knife. The two young Benders claimed that Elvira didn't understand English very well and denied the accusation in her stead. But when Alexander repeated the accusation, Elvira would pretty much flip out, proving the lie about her not understanding English. Elvira would claim that the lady was a witch who tried to curse her coffee. She also ordered the men to leave her house. Now, Alexander's men knew and felt that the Benders were full of shit. They believed that they knew what happened to William and that they had something to do with it. His men wanted to kill them all on the spot. However, Alexander would tell them not to do anything because they didn't have enough evidence or all of the facts to do anything. Kate would ask Alexander to return that coming Friday, where she would do a seance to try and contact William.
Liar.
Yeah. He would agree to this and would return on Friday. But he wouldn't get any more information. Kate would claim something where she wasn't able to contact William at all. Alexander would leave, and a few weeks would go by with no movement in anything. The towns near Osage would begin to accuse the Osage community of having something to do with the missing people. So, in response, the Osage Township arranged for a meeting to address this problem. About 75 people would attend this meeting. This included Alexander and both of the Bender men, John Sr. and John Jr. This meeting would end with the agreement of getting warrants to search every homestead in the area, from Big Hill Creek to Drum Creek, which I tried looking up, but I don't know, how far that is. Just because I think Big Hill Creek and Drum Creek are now, I think they were probably different back then.
Yeah, probably.
Well, either way, this included the Bender Inn in the search warrant. 3 days after the meeting, a man named Billy Toll was riding past the Bender Inn and noticed it looked abandoned. Getting a closer look, the animals seemed like they hadn't been fed in days. Billy would tell the town trustee, but due to weather, they wouldn't be able to check in on the Bender home until a couple days later. A group of volunteers, which was several hundred, would form a search party. This included Alexander. They would check the house and around the surrounding area for any signs of the Benders. The house was pretty much empty. There was no food and no clothing. The longer they searched, the more they began to smell a bad odor. While trying to find where the smell was coming from, they noticed a trapped door that was nailed shut. Opening the trap door, it was about 6 feet deep and 7 feet squared at the top and 3 feet squared at the bottom. On the stone floor was clotted blood. Thinking that possibly bodies were buried there, they broke the stone floor, but to their surprise, there were no bodies. Blood had sunk through the floor into the dirt, causing the odor. Now this next part, I don't know exactly how they did it, but they physically moved the whole house into a different spot. Which I don't know how the fuck they did, but
all I can think of is logs, using logs to push the house up, and then moving it onto logs so they could roll it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I honestly have no idea how, but they did it. They did this to be able to fully dig under the house to check for any bodies. Once again, they found nothing. I want to mention that I believe this was all done in one day. I mean, if you have hundreds of volunteers, I can only imagine the type of stuff you could get done.
Absolutely.
After not finding any bodies under the house, they would begin using metal poles to probe the ground. Dr. Williams' body would be the first body to be found. He was found in the apple orchard, buried face down, with his feet barely under the surface. It is believed that William had about $2,000 on him, which is worth just over $54,000 today.
So why didn't they steal the money from him?
I'm pretty sure they did. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they knew how much he had on him from when he left his home or left his parents' home.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm assuming. Or maybe it was on him. I don't know, but all I know is it said that he had about $2,000 on him. So I don't know if it was actually still on him or if they took it or...
Gotcha.
That was unclear. They continued to search for the bodies all the way until midnight, ending with what they suspected was 9 more graves. Returning the next day to all of the marked spots, they began digging. 8 bodies were found in 7 of the 9 graves. This included one in the well that the Benders built. Alongside this body, there were multiple other body parts found. There were believed to be 3 separate victims. All the victims besides one would have their heads bashed in and throats slit. The only one who didn't have that was George's daughter, Mary Ann. She had no marks on her body and was fully clothed, making people believe she was buried alive. Newspapers would report that all of the murders were indecently mutilated. So there are only 11 confirmed victims of the Benders that were found on their property. But it is believed they killed over 20. The following will be all the victims that are believed to be killed by the Benders. William Jones, which is believed to be the first victim, found in May of 1871 in Drum Creek. 2 unidentified male bodies found in Drum Creek in February of 1872. Ben Brown. He was from Howard County and had $2,600 on him when he went missing in December of 1872, which is over $65,000 today. His body was found buried in the apple orchard. W.F. McCrotty. He was in the 123rd Regiment in Illinois Volunteer Infantry. He went missing in December of 1872. Along with him, $32, his wagon, and a team of horses went missing. No body was found, but he was believed to be a victim. Henry Mackenzie. He was moving from Hamilton County, Indiana, to Independence, Kansas. Along with him, $36 and his team of horses went missing. No body was found, but he was believed to be a victim. Johnny Boyle. He was from Howard County, Kansas. He went missing in December of 1872, along with $10, a pacing mare, and a $850 saddle. His body was found in the Bender well. George Longcore, or Launcher, the one that you could say started the end of the Bender family murders. He went missing in December of 1872, along with his daughter, Mary Ann. He and her were found buried in the apple orchard. John Grary went missing in December of 1872. His body was found buried in the apple orchard. Red Smith went missing in December of 1872. His body was found buried in the apple orchard. Abigail Roberts went missing in December of 1872. Her body was found in the apple orchard. 4 unidentified male bodies found in December of 1872 in Drum Creek. The only possible ID is Jack Bogart, but it's not confirmed. Body parts found in the well are believed to be 3 separate victims that died or went missing in December of 1872. The last known Bender victim would be Dr. William York, which I already pretty much covered.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a total of 20 victims, and those are only the ones that we possibly know about. There could be way more that were never found or looked for. Besides Mackenzie, York, George and Mary Ann Longcore, and McCrotty, no one came forward to claim their bodies. They were all put to rest at the base of a small hill about 1 mile southeast of the apple orchard. In the Bender's house, they found 3 hammers, a shoe hammer, claw hammer, and a sledgehammer. The hammers looked like they matched most of the skulls of the victims. All 3 hammers are displayed at the Cherryvale Museum in Cherryvale, Kansas. Along with the hammers, a 4-inch taper blade was found hidden in a mantel clock by Alexander. The blade is currently located at the Kansas Museum of History, but isn't on display. If you do request to see it, they will bring it out. At least that's what I've heard.
Yeah. It's so weird.
They say it still has red to brown stains on it.
Gross.
Over a dozen bullet holes were found in the roof and sides of the house. This made people believe that some victims fought back. After being hit in the head, maybe they drew their guns in hopes to shoot them, but failed from the fact that they got hit in the head. The big reason why the Benders did what they did was to steal from their victims. But some believe it was also just for the thrill of the kill, since not every victim had a lot of money, if any.
Because they were getting away with so many that they thought,
oh, we could just
kill.
kill.
Yeah.
A Roman Catholic prayer book was found in the home. It contained writing in German. Also, another reason to believe the Benders were from Germany. Once translated, it said, Johanna Bender, born July 30th, 1848. Another text is, John Gebhardt came to America on July 18... I'm assuming they couldn't read it or understand it.
Mm-hmm.
In an old Bible, the following words were found in it. Big Slaughter Day, Jan 8th. And Hell's Departed.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Weird. Now, no matter how hard they searched, they would not find any of the Benders. State Senator Alexander York would offer a $1,000 reward for the rest of the Benders. And on May 17th, Kansas Governor Thomas Osborne offered a $2,000 reward for the apprehension of all 4 Benders. Following the wagon trail that the Benders left behind, they would eventually find their abandoned wagon. It would be just outside the city limits of Thayer, about 12 miles from their house. Along with the wagon were the horses that I'm assuming were still attached to the wagon. One of the horses seemed to be in pain, and the others were starving. It looked like the horses began eating the wood from the wagon because they were so hungry.
Fucking assholes.
Which is why I'm assuming that they were still attached, because if they weren't, they probably would have just ran away or went and found food or something. Yeah. Somehow, they would find out that they all bought tickets to leave on the Leavenworth, Lawrence, and Galveston Railroad, heading towards Humboldt, which is about 23 miles from Thayer. Now, this is where the theories begin, which is a lot of theories. It is possible that John Jr. and Kate got off the train in Humboldt to get onto the MK and T train to River County near Denison, Texas. They were traveling to the outlaw colony believed to be between the border of Texas and New Mexico. Once there, law enforcement wouldn't follow. Many officers have gone into that territory, but never returned, so many didn't follow. Only one detective said that he did follow them to the border and found John Jr. dead from apoplexy or a stroke. Apoplexy is a rupture of an internal organ. but this detective said there was no sign of Kate. John Sr. and Elvira didn't get off at Humboldt, but instead continued on the train until they got to Kansas City. Once there, they got on a separate train to head for St. Louis, Missouri. And that's just one theory, and then they just fucking disappeared.
That's so crazy.
The news of the Bloody Benders would spread like wildfire. Over 3,000 people from all over would visit the Bender home. This included people from New York and Chicago. The Bender house was later destroyed by souvenir hunters. Everything was taken, even the bricks in the cellar and the stone in the well. Many groups formed, pretty much groups of vigilantes, to try and track the Benders down. One group said they saw all of the Benders except for Kate because they burned her alive. Another said they all caught them and lynched them before throwing their bodies into the Verdigris River. And the last one I'll mention is a group that claimed they shot all of them in a gunfight and buried them on the prairie. What prairie? I don't know. They don't specify.
There's only like 1 million prairies.
Yeah. However, all these groups failed to produce the bodies of the Benders, so no one would claim the $3,000. The search would continue on and off for the next 50 years. Over the years, many people would be arrested and accused of being the Benders. A lot of them were 2 women that traveled alone together. They would be accused of being Elvira and Kate Bender. The next part is going to be either the aftermath of the Bender murders or believed accusations of people being the Benders. Weeks after the discovery of the Bender murders, a group of people were arrested. This included Addison Roach and her son-in-law, William Buxton, and 12 other men, including a man whose last name was Brockman. They were believed to be accessories in the murder or in the help of getting rid of the stolen goods. It is said that Brockman was hung by a rope on the beam of the Bender's house. They hung him until he was unconscious, then brought him down, revived him, interrogated him, then hung him again. This would repeat 3 times. By the 3rd time, they would let him go to stumble and stagger home by himself. 23 years later, Brockman was arrested again for killing and raping his 18-year-old daughter.
What the fuck?
Mitt Cherry, who was a member of the vigilante community, was said to have framed a letter. In this letter, they pretended to be a victim that was already dead. They said that they were fine and made it to the certain location that they were supposed to. This letter was believed to be written to the victim's wife. So pretty much they pretended to be the victim and said, yeah, I made it to where I was supposed to be and I'm fine, even though he was probably already dead. August 1880, in the Chicago Tribune, 2 elderly folk were arrested and accused of being the Benders, John Sr. and Elvira. When arrested, they confessed to doing everything in Kansas. The paper would continue to update from August 1st to August 8th. But by August 10th, the 2 IDs of the elder couple came out as fake. On August 11th, the issue was discharged.
Man, people are wanting to be famous, whether they're the
bad guys or good guys. In 1887, a report was made about a John Flickinger who committed suicide in Lake Michigan. And that's pretty much all I have about that one. It's just, that's what I came across. So, if he was John Flickinger, then he committed suicide in Lake Michigan. In 1884, an old man matching John Sr.'s description was arrested in Montana for murder near Salmon, Idaho. The victim died from being hit in the back of the head by a hammer. While in jail, a request was sent to a law enforcement officer in Cherryvale to ID him. Before the officer could get to the jail where he was being held prisoner, the prisoner cut off his own foot to try and escape. Unfortunately, he died from bleeding out. By the time the officer got to the jail, the body was so badly decomposed, it was impossible to ID him. The skull of the prisoner was hanged in a saloon in Salmon until it closed due to the prohibition.
Holy shit.
And that was like just a thing. You could just hang a fucking skull on the wall and...
Yeah, that's weird.
On October 31st, 1889, a Mrs. Elmira Monroe and a Mrs. Sarah Davis were arrested in Niles, Michigan. They were originally arrested for larceny weeks prior and not found guilty, then let go, then rearrested for the Bender murders, believing that they were Elvira and Kate Bender. A Mrs. Frances M. McCann reported them earlier that October, believing that they were the Benders. Two locals of Osage Township would confirm their IDs by a tintype photo, saying that they were Kate and Elvira. Deputy Sheriff Leroy Dick, who was searching the Benders' home when they were arrested for larceny, came back just in time to arrest them for the Bender murders on October 31st. So they were arrested weeks prior, then let go on October 30th, to only be rearrested on October 31st by Leroy. Mrs. Davis would claim that Mrs. Monroe was in fact Elvira, but she herself was not Kate, but actually her sister Sarah, even signing an affidavit about it. Then Mrs. Monroe would deny being Elvira, but claim that Mrs. Davis was not Kate's sister Sarah, but actually Kate. So basically they turned on each other. Either way, the pair was escorted to Oswego and put in front of a panel of 13 members. 7 would confirm that they were Elvira and Kate, but the others would either say it wasn't or they didn't know. Then, to make it even more confusing, a woman named Mary Gardell was claiming that Mrs. Monroe was her mother, Elmira Shear, and at the time of the Bender murders, she was actually serving 2 years at the Detroit House of Corrections for the manslaughter of her daughter-in-law, Emily Mark. That's a shit full of...
Holy shit!
Yeah. Records would actually back this up, but Mrs. Monroe would deny having any knowledge or having anything to do with this. This meant that she would remain incarcerated with Mrs. Davis. The trial was supposed to take place in February of 1890, but was held off until May. Once the trial began, Mrs. Monroe would change her story and say that she was in fact Elmira Shear. At the time, she didn't want to say anything because she didn't want the court to know about her manslaughter. But now that she's facing actual trial,
yeah.
Mrs. Davis's attorney was able to produce a marriage certificate for her. It claimed that she was married in Michigan in 1872 when the murders happened. The judge would also find other affidavits and documents supporting these claims. So with uncertainty of not truly knowing if they were Elvira or Kate, the judge would let them go. Other things that people questioned about Mrs. Monroe and Mrs. Davis was the two women spoke with no accent and almost had perfect English. Also, the county was probably unwilling to house the two women for an extended period of time, most likely because of money.
Mm-hmm.
However, weirdly enough, all files on the Benders and Mrs. Monroe and Mrs. Davis are missing from the Labette County.
What?
Weird? I think so.
Very
Yeah.
suspicious. Missing.
Yeah.
I don't believe that for a second.
Where the fuck did they go?
Yeah.
Granted, I understand it's 1870, but
Oh, right. Still.
I'm sure there's some sort of records of this because there's this case.
Yeah. There's got to be records
There's
somewhere.
something out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably just people that are keeping it a secret or something. I don't know. Something suspicious about it.
Yeah, very suspicious.
So I have a couple mentionings and theories. A man from Kansas City who looked into the Bender murders claimed he believed they were also the Kelly family. The Kelly family was a family of serial killers. They killed people from August to December in 1887 in Oak City near the Kansas border. This was known as No Man's Land, and it is now known as the Oklahoma Panhandle. The family consists of William, 55, the father, Kate, unknown age, which was the mother, Bill or Billy, 20, the son, and Kit, 18 years old, the daughter, which is very ironic.
Mm-hmm.
The similar names.
Yeah. Similarities, the ages they can lie about. You know, they could just say that that's how old they were, but...
Yeah, easily. They pretty much had the same MO. They also lured travelers in and would hit them in the back of the head with an axe before throwing them into a trap door that led to the cellar. Sound familiar?
Just a little bit.
Only difference is it's an axe and not a hammer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
While the Kelly family was escaping, Kate fell off her horse and broke her neck and died. Billy and Kit were captured and hung. And before dying, there's rumors that Kit said something along the lines of, "Should we tell them the whole truth?" to Billy. And Billy responded with something like, "Keep them guessing," or "Let them figure it out themselves."
Mm-hmm.
Something along those lines. I don't know where this comes from, if it's just word of mouth or...
That is interesting, though.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like, if this is true, what were they keeping?
Yeah.
Were they really the...
vendors?
Mm-hmm.
And they just traveled from state to state changing their names and...
Yeah. Just change a little bit of what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're stealing money and everything, so they would have enough money to... Start over.
Mm-hmm.
And the last Kelly member was William, and he was eventually captured and hung until unconscious, then taken down, stripped, and pretty much tortured to get him to confess until they finally hung him again until he died.
And he never said anything? Or at least there's no record of...
Yeah, no record of if he confessed or not. I didn't find anything on that. Another theory is that they just fled the country. And that's why no one found him.
Yeah, that could be.
Could be, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't
really necessarily believe that. And then I have mentioning... The Bloody Benders are mentioned in multiple stories, novels, music, and TV. A movie was also made about them.
That is amazing. I don't think I've ever heard it, so I'm like very curious.
Let me see if I can find them real quick. In literature, I don't really know any of these fucking novels or anything, but there's like the Western novel, The Hellbenders,
Mm.
It was published in 1999 by Ken Hodgson. It focused on the manhunt for the Benders after the discovery of their crimes.
Mm.
Then there's the novel Cottonwood, published in 2004 by Scott Phillips. It features Kate Bender in a supporting role. The second half of the book takes place during the trial of the two alleged surviving members of the Bender family.
Mm.
So there's like...
That's very interesting.
Yeah. There's like over 10 different books and novels that people took from the Bender family.
Yeah.
Then the film is called Bender. It's came out in 2016. Was produced by J.C. Guest and directed by John Alexander. Yeah. It's an experimental art house cult thriller starring James Karen. I don't know who James Karen is.
I don't either. I never even heard of the movie.
Me either. Yeah, and then music. The metal band Macabre, they have a song called The Bloody Benders about the family. And then there's a Japanese doom metal band, Church of Misery, opened their 2016 album, and then There Were None, with a song about the Benders entitled The Hellbenders. Okay. And then there's a shit ton of television.
Wow.
Oh. Even in Supernatural.
Really?
Supernatural Season 1, Episode 15, titled The Benders, alludes to the historical Benders in several ways. It features a family of thrill killers named Pa, Missy Lee, and Jared Bender, whose downfall ultimately comes from the sheriff looking for her missing brother. I didn't even notice that. But I didn't even know about this. I didn't even know about this case either. So
I've never heard of it before.
And I do want to mention, I talked about it earlier, that George Loncourt, or Launcher, whatever one it is.
Yeah.
He was neighbors with where the fuck is it?
Bogart? With that one or no?
No, he was neighbors with Dr. William York. And then he was also neighbors with the Ingalls.
Mm-hmm.
And the Ingalls family made the famous children's book Little House on the Prairie.
I was wondering, because that name is like not very common. So when I heard that, I was like,
yeah. Oh, it says that she mentioned the Bender family in her writings and speeches. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a little just like a mentioning. It's
yeah.
Yeah, so they're mentioned in a lot of different stuff.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind that maybe at one point, because of Supernatural, but like not even like putting two and two together.
Yeah.
Like you said,
Supernatural is about the supernatural.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, I mean,
they say that Kate said that she could talk to
the dead.
The dead, so.
I mean, that's kind of supernatural, if it was true.
Yeah, if it was true.
I have like one question. Or like thought about this, and then we can get into yours. Figure out what you wrote in that fucking paragraph. So if Kate and the family were like truly spiritualist, was Kate wanting to commit the murders to do experiments of trying to contact the dead? I mean, that I just thought of that. That's like, if she was truly a spiritualist, Was she
Yeah.
not necessarily in it for the money
Mm-hmm.
and wanted, or she was in it for the money, but this also was like just a
Mhm.
bonus
Yeah.
that she
Part of
could
it.
conduct experiments with trying to contact the dead because, you know,
Yeah.
she killed them. Otherwise, is Kate just saying that she's a spiritualist to try to make money off people?
Yeah.
It's like one or two ways.
Right. And that's actually the paragraph. That's actually what I put. I was wondering if she. So they believe that, or at least they were portraying that they believe that the dead can communicate with the living, or that they can communicate with the dead. So they killed people to talk to them. But what about after? Like, so that was kind of like my question, like exactly what you said. So was she doing it to like make her power stronger, or was she doing it to, was it just complete bullshit, or was
Yeah.
it just like she was like trying, like you said, experiment and see if she could.
was like actually
Yeah.
trying to
Mhm.
communicate with the dead.
Yeah.
And if it mattered if you had the body, the belongings of the person,
Yeah.
if it was easier to contact them, harder.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff, but like the same time, was she really like that? Because I mean, she helped kill people.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was my paragraph.
That's funny. I just took it away from you.
Yeah.
I just snatched
That's all
it.
good. That's all good. I don't really have, like, this next thing that I jotted down wasn't a question. It was more like a haha. But they talk about Elvira having a scowl on her face, and I was like, damn, can a girl have RBF? Yeah, I was like, damn, even then they were like,
yeah. I mean, it's not acceptable now, so it's not
Right.
going to be acceptable back then. But I mean, was John Sr. and Elvira truly like not friendly people, or
Right.
were they not friendly because people automatically assumed?
assume something.
Yeah.
But also, like, I mean, did they give off, like, creepy vibes? Because clearly they were killers, so.
Yeah. Well, and you're coming into a new area,
Mm-hmm.
and you're apparently spiritualist,
Yeah.
and that's weird to a lot of people.
Yeah. And which made me think of the Addams Family.
Oh no, the Addams Family's better than
Yeah.
these.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When you were talking about when the police came in and they were searching the property,
Mm-hmm.
and like there was nothing left because of all these people coming and like the souvenir hunters.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, because that's going to be part of our next case.
Oh. Okay. Dun dun dun.
That's a connection. Besides being a Western, that is a connection. Not a connection as far as like knowing like people were related or anything like that, but like how our cases are connected a lot.
Yeah. There's always something connecting our cases together.
And that is, besides being a Western, that is another. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh, yeah, that's
similar.
Mm-hmm. And the only other question I had is, what is a tintype photo?
So a tintype photo is basically what it says. It's a photo that's put on like a metal sheet.
Oh, really?
Like
Okay.
a tintype sheet.
Huh.
I mean, I looked that up too, and I was like, well, it is kind of what it says. So if she doesn't know, she'll just ask,
Yeah.
and then I can tell her.
Because obviously, I love photography, so I was like, what is that? Never heard of that before. And then all I kept thinking about was like the one camera that you have to like put the fabric over your head when you take the picture.
Mm-hmm. I'm just double checking that I'm right. Yeah, a tintype photograph is a 19th century photographic process that creates a direct positive image on a thin metal plate,
Hmm.
offering a durable, affordable, and portable alternative to early photographic methods.
Sweet.
Could you imagine how probably easy this would be able to solve nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure there's
Yeah.
DNA everywhere.
Yeah. I'm sure nothing was saved. Or if it is, it's hidden somewhere. And
Yeah. Well, like Alexander, when he was searching with everyone,
mm-hmm.
he found the knife that I'm assuming they used to slit their victim's throat.
Oh, and it's at that museum.
Yeah. He said he found it in a mandel clock.
Yeah.
Which is like, why the fuck would you try to hide it in a clock? Unless you just hid it in a clock when people or like your victims were coming in.
Yeah.
So it's like out of sight, out of mind.
Because the canvas that they hung, they didn't hide the stains on that thing.
Yeah. So I'm like, and I'm sure they didn't hide the hammer. So why the fuck would they hide the knife in the...
Yeah.
Maybe because all the stains wouldn't come off?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions about this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a 1870,
yeah.
so can't really get much.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I got as much information as I did.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But this was my version of a Western story. I did find another Western story that I'm going to do eventually. To get an idea, it is a serial killer that's basically a Western version of Ted Bundy.
Wowzer.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to quite do that one yet because I'm sure that one's a long one. If it's comparable to Ted Bundy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our hearts go out to the victims in this case and all individuals affected. With that is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you like our podcast, please hit that follow or subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Girls Gone Curious Podcast. Until next time.